Hello, beautiful people. I am attempting to use some AirPods on my walk to see if they cut out some of the noise, and hopefully I don't have to record this again because walking sometimes is a good time for me to check in and talk and run my mouth. So, once again, as always, take what resonates with you, leave the rest. This is probably my first show of the new year, January 2026. Of course, there's always something to talk about. And also, my challenge is still going on with trying to simplify subject matter that I want to talk about. And they're all very important to me. But I think right now, what I want to address in current events, which I don't always talk about, the last time I talked about briefly in the preview of my episode, talking about an older woman from the community. We were talking about the passing of her husband and how he left her nothing. And I talked about following the Walk for Peace monks. There's about 10 or 12 of them. I thought that they were all Thai, but I think the head monk might be Vietnamese. So, anyway, that's still cool. I'm actually surprised there isn't a white person, white man following, because there are a lot of, over the years, people that have, I don't know if you want to say converted, but, changed their life in Western culture. They've learned in Western culture about Buddhism in general. And for those of you that don't know, there's actually many different styles of Buddhism. Maybe you would have heard about Tibetan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. You don't hear much about Thai, and it can be very, and Vietnamese, which I didn't even know about, and Japanese, I'm sure. Different, well, Japanese Zen Buddhism. Anyway, so it can be a very overwhelming. I look at it as philosophy and not religion, but you can get really deep into it. And I have not, but we're not talking about that today, other than the depth of meditation and different things. But I've been practicing, if you want to say deep meditation or more serious devoted meditation, for maybe 15 years, but I grew up with my mom's influence. So when I would go and see her. And so I have been praying for about probably 34 years in terms of, wanting to help bring the philosophy, the compassion, the just overall general peacefulness of it, along with the culture, to America. I always asked myself as a teenager, like, why can't we have this here? Or why is this, I wish that something like this would come here to help us all and have a leader that we respect and want to follow, and have a king that we love, just like they do in Thailand. And here we are coming up to some now loud noise. So really, maybe I am going to have to record this. Should we turn around? I guess let's go this way. I was going to say, should we turn around because it's loud? Um, okay, so I'm going to turn this up and see. Of course, when I try to record, I guess this is maybe not a good time ever to record on walks. So anyway, I guess it's getting me practice of how and what I want to talk about. Okay, so let me just wait for this thing to pass. If these AirPods are as good as they are, we wouldn't hear anything, right? Okay, so I've been praying, meditating, thinking, all of this, and now they have been basically, the monks have been walking from Texas to DC. I think it says 2,300 miles, and different things they've encountered on the road. And some of them are wearing no shoes. They're with their dog. I think they said he's from India. Oh, I forgot, most importantly, Buddha was from India, Siddhartha Gautama. So I forgot to mention that very important part, which is all, pretty close to Thailand. So, okay, so the dog, and So that's magical for a lot of people, for healing especially too. So while it's beautiful and everything, I'm surprised that I am not crying more. Oh, I forgot to tell you. One of them actually was hit by a car that was trying to pass them. Like they had an escort vehicle and a car was trying to pass that vehicle, and then it hit the monk. And he just decided, I guess, that because he was going to have so many surgeries, that he would just amputate his leg. And glad and happy to do that if it was necessary, because he said that it might be dangerous. So I don't know if they were walking at night or anything that happened, but an accident. And so they are walking, and I'm just observing. So I'm surprised I'm not crying more in joy of seeing this in my lifetime, which I never thought I would. Okay, so a lot of words to pretty much say. So I've been watching and listening to people's reactions, and including the fact that I think had this happened 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been as embraced. I think still there's a lot of people of the judgment, even that, these people, these monks or whatever it is, they're worshiping statues, and I don't believe in that and whatever. But I think because of the way that they're doing this, meaning using a walk and speaking and chanting and all that stuff, people are, and the young kids are more open-minded, I think, to the ideas of different things and people that want peace. But I've been asking myself when I hear these comments, like one guy saying, he just was very calm, but he's like, yeah, that's good, they're walking for peace. And it made me think, like, there are people just like that, they don't know what happiness is or that it exists, or what it feels like, or all these sorts of things. It's the same thing with, if you're only shown bad, right? And I say bad, violence, corruption, greed, all these sorts of things, how would you know that there was another way? So it's interesting that some people, maybe in a way, right, are waking up to, like, really for their very first time, hey, that's cool that people want to do that. Or, you know, that's new, what are these monks about? And just kind of like a waking up. And I find it fascinating because not only how I've come from love and believed in love while I knew that good, believed in good existing, and that the good existing with the bad, I've realized that there are people that don't know at all. And it makes sense, right? If they're only shown. So that's my biggest walkaway right now. And of course, seeing people bonding different cultures. They're going around and doing blessings too for, anybody like special needs or whatever the case. So it is, I think, day 72, something like that, that they're on in the 70s. It is January, whatever today is. It's a Tuesday. I think it's like the 5th or the 6th. So that's mostly the first part of what I wanted to talk about. The other things that are upcoming are just the usual challenges of life, what I've learned even in the past 6 years, constantly growing. Um, it is a constant thing with me, and some things happen that are surprisingly, I guess, changing me on a deep level while I may not even feel it. And I've been listening to a lot of Carl Jung, who has been around forever. Actually, I don't know if he's like the 30s or 40s, and Alan Watts. And I never got into Carl Jung. He kind of sounded a little bit too complex for me, even though I'm already complicated. Still kind of didn't understand his material. So it is kind of explaining things to me that help me understand where I was going into thinking about, the way my behavior is, am I going into isolation? Am I becoming more isolated? Um, you know, why would this be happening to me, to have grown so much socially and want to do much socially, but I feel like, am I going backwards? And in some ways, the things that I've been working on, like Am I me going crazy? Like I feel like this dream job, like it took 13 years, but now again that it's here, which is still a process, and why I'm not, it's when you're growing, it's a process, and growing clients and growing what you need. So it's not an immediate satisfaction, which is not what I expected. But I think I thought that I would feel differently again with maybe crying more, but more in the joy aspect, because it's like, oh, okay, I'm here. It's like, now it's like, I'm here. Now what? Now I, no, go this way.
That's a court.
Okay. Now I just keep going. I keep going and I keep doing and finding peace in the process. Finding peace in the process and just allowing the pace at which it goes. And that's what I'm doing right now. And then I will probably do this week, I'm going to lay out my shows, which I have not dedicated to for the coming months, about, I keep going back to this because I think this is again the process of like how I learned to put into words. I can finally put into words to explain relationships and attachment, and how I learned, because there were certain things that people would say, right, that I've read, or elders, and I never really understood them, including that one, how to not take things personally, because examples are the best way to describe that. But certain things with trying to explain and put into words the whole embracing the moment and appreciating the people that come into your life, and being able to explain that since I've realized that people come and go, and it's happened to me so much, and whether I want to describe it as a pain feeling or whatever, I was going to just talk a little bit about that. The point is seeing people come and go and experience it sometimes as almost like a physical death and grief, that I guess it's never a good idea to talk on shows when I'm on a walk, because I keep getting interrupted here. So, anyway, now there's a dog. Okay. Bye. I guess we could walk on the sidewalk now. Where'd you go? Oh. So, what was I going to say? Oh, I forgot to tell you guys about, there's this house that we walked by that had like the drying, they were trying to dry the skin on the front lawn. Like, I don't know if it was a deer. I don't know if it was a deer or something like that. It was just wild because it wasn't the innards, it was just drying out of the skin, and you could see the blood. And they had draped it on their front lawn on like different pieces. I don't know if it was like on a bush or what they were doing, but it was just wild to see that in person, since I've never seen it in person. And apparently the neighbors are okay with it, or maybe not initially, or something like that. I don't know. Okay, so attachment, and then I'm gonna end this since this is kind of getting annoying. And saying a lot. Okay, so being able to explain, since I have experienced those like a physical death, I can come back and explain it now, how since the attachment to other people would define it, okay, we're going to say like getting close with people. I never did it for fear of abandonment. I did it based on loving somebody and wanting to spend time with them. No, I don't think that involves a 24/7 type of situation, but that's what I saw growing up with my friend. So, there I go saying again. So maybe I can sum it up just by saying it in this episode that basically as a result of learning like that, I've learned to not only diversify love, right? I've learned how it is healthy to have healthy distance. And that I, what I have heard though, is that people do that and build closeness for like this fear of abandonment, which I also did have that too, that I've processed through over, 20, 30 years, but that is not the reason that I would do it. So I do feel like I experienced all of those things, like I said, as deep losses, to not talk to people anymore, people that have just dropped me. I feel like when they got into a relationship, right, and just stopped talking to me, whether it's for their own, from their own, uh, sucking in of the time and loving that attention and whatever, and or it is their person, right, who has influenced them. So to me, that was painful. I feel like they dropped me, or maybe for 6 months. So I guess I have experienced pain in those sorts of ways with my relationships, and it's just been done like so many times for various different reasons. And so I just have to learn to accept, and that has been able for me to go into any new friendship relationship, even if it's with clients, knowing like, hey, I like them, but I don't need to fixate on having some intimate friendship with them when who knows when how long it's going to last. But I think each person has to learn in their own way, is the bottom line. But when you're going through it, you may not know that you're doing it, or if you know you're doing it, you kind of don't know how to stop. And it kind of also, even in Buddhism, they talk about how attachment is suffering. I still really didn't understand what they meant, you know, and life is suffering. Yes, I understand the parts and pain is information. Like I get all of that, but I never really was able to apply it to relationships. And again, people, it kind of goes back to the whole focusing on people and thinking they have these certain roles in our life. And one of those roles, apparently, because I appreciate intimacy and friendship, I think that everybody is going to stay. And not a lot of them do. Okay, so there's that piece. And then the other thing that makes it even more confusing to say, and again, hard to put into words, is when somebody passes, or whoever people are, whatever it is, like those people are still like with me, right? It's just they might not be necessarily in my everyday thoughts, like they are memories. But when I say that somebody they pass and they're still with us, you will clearly see it if they show up through different signs, because they will in life if they are supposed to, or they only come in when we need them. So like my oldest brother who passed a long time ago, third stroke from alcoholism, and he wanted to, he was done. He doesn't really ever come back, and we weren't that close, but close enough like even to say hi. And then my mom has come back in a few dreams, but again, there's really no really messages. And we had a really interesting relationship, so I'm really surprised that she has not come back more or anything. So I've gone to a medium, and she said some pretty wild things that only my mom would be like that, whatever it is she needed to tell me. But it wasn't, I don't even know to say it was necessarily messages, but they were things regarding narcissism, of which she had some traits of, along with some other personality disorder stuff. Okay, so that's all for this episode today. Hopefully you were able to hear me, and I will talk to you in the next episode about what other deep findings that I have, or learning the words for past topics. Okay, thanks for listening.